Good morning, Anchorage, Alaska, the lower 48, and the rest of the world. It's Bruce Lindquist with his podcast, Wonderful Counselor. If you've been listening to my podcast, you know there's over 60 episodes to choose from. Some are in a single episode. I tell the entire story or message. Others are in a mini-series. And I concluded just a little bit ago a serial killer murder series called Hide and Seek. And so I encourage you to check out that one. I would start with, does love have an evil twin sister, and go from there. What's unusual about this serial killer series is most murder mysteries are focused on solving who the killer is. But in my series, we know who the killer is. And it's a matter of what happens to the killer and his victims and those that are chasing after him. And how do biblical themes of forgiveness and redemption and hope fit into a story like that? So as a Christian, I bring Christian themes and the gospel actually to whatever story I write. It just takes you a while to get there because I'm setting the stage with the characters and with this plot line. And we go through a lot of darkness to get to light. But what do you expect? It's a serial killer story. I had the opportunity of being so blessed by a 9 and 12-year-old little girls. And they came into my life just at the right time that I needed them. And we have adopted them as spiritual grandchildren. They're not biological grandchildren. We have a lot of biological grandchildren. These two have a very special place in Grandpa and Grandma's heart. And so I wanted to do something special for them. So I wrote Sadie, who's 9, a story that was called The Cookie Creature, and gave that to her on Christmas Eve day. And then for Bella, who is 12 now, I wrote her the series you're listening to now. And it makes her the central character, and it's a murder mystery, and it's a serial killer murder mystery, and it puts Bella as the central character. And she thought that was really cool to actually be in the story. And so what we've been doing is recording it, giving it to Bella, having her figure out the cipher, and then she returns it back to Grandpa. And then I put it on the podcast, and we just go through this process through these chapters. Now, the story for 11-year-old, now 12, is called The Case of the Missing Shoe. And we're at chapter 4. So I encourage you to go back through the chapters. Chapter 1 was the humankind. Chapter 2 was a mother's worst nightmare. And chapter 3 was knocking on death's door. And now we're at chapter 5, the 5 suspects. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with this story. These are very short stories, maybe 15, 20 minutes at the most. So you can get all caught up and be all ready for chapter 5 when it comes out. Bella, our 12-year-old heroine, continued to stare at the cipher written in large black ink on her hospital wall, and it looked like dripping black blood. She thought about the missing women and how she had watched the collector, somehow when she was in a dream, without him knowing it, burn a woman alive. Using the collector as the plain text, Bella started to work on decoding the third cipher. In comparison, the first 2 were easy, but this one had more than 2 lines. It had 5. And she was left with some words and letters that could not be decoded. So she had to figure out what those blank spaces were. Bella knew she wasn't going to be going anywhere because she was in the hospital. She had to wait for the effects of the thallium to wear off and the side effects from the blue Persian pills. Bella figured the cipher was another warning with a new threat and that she would be at fault for what happened next to her or the kids she knew. Bella knew her classmates were in danger and all her friends, but she also could not live with herself if she didn't try to stop the collector. Bella's mom walked in to check on her daughter. Bella said, "Mom, make sure you pick up Sadie every day after school. Get there early. I deciphered the new cipher. Kids are now in danger, and since he knows where I live, he knows where Sadie lives." Kim said, "I've been keeping her close." Kim stayed with her daughter, and they talked more and prayed. Bella told her mom about the dream, which turned out to be real. Kim shared with Bella, "Sounds like the Holy Spirit is giving you revelation into these women and the collector." Bella thought, "If that's true, then I can follow the collector in my dreams." Just then Dr. Foreman walked into the room. "I see you deciphered the cipher," she observed. "It was hard," said Bella, "but eventually I believe I guessed the words right." "We will put patrols out at the schools and also at your house, Bella." "You're not telling me something," said Bella. "Well, a 12-year-old girl's missing named Luna Brown," said Dr. Foreman. "I know Luna," said Bella. "She goes to my school." According to her mom, she was supposedly going over to a good friend's. Her mom was supposed to pick her up later, but she never made it. Bella's mom left. "I need to go back and close to class to watch the kids." Dr. Foreman asked Bella how she was able to follow the collector in her dreams. Bella said according to her mom, the only way would be through the Holy Spirit revelation, which means God is using her to catch the serial killer. She looked at Dr. Foreman. "Tell me more about those suspects," she said. "Well, we have 5 of them. All came from the Pacific Northwest, so they would have been close enough to cause those 2 female college students from the University of Washington to disappear near Lake Washington. They were around, also the same women's age." Bella was given a picture of the suspects and a number of reasons in writing why they were on Dr. Foreman's list. The first suspect's name was Timmy Jones. "Just hired last month, he's an RN employed at this hospital." "That would give him access to me, so he could have written on my room wall with a cipher," said Bella. "Yes," said Carrie. As that is her first name when Bella and her are alone, she has permission to use it. "The nurse would have access to the medications and given medical knowledge, most likely known all about thallium." "He also seen me twice," said Bella. "Does he have a criminal history?" asked Bella. "Yes," said Carrie, "but all charges were dropped." "What did he allegedly do?" asked Bella. "I don't know," said Carrie. "Someone in a position of power is blocking access to his record." "Who is suspect number 2? asked Bella. "That would be Leon Jeffers. He arrived in Alaska last month. He is actually a professional runner. He's up to here to prepare for a major race." Bella noted, "Well, he could have chased down the first woman and killed her." "Any legal history?" asked Bella. 2 domestic assault charges. One, he beat up his wife, and the other, he beat up his mom. He went to jail for 6 or 9 months, but has been out in Alaska for the last 2 months, said Carrie. "So he's not only a runner, but a violent one towards women. That sort of fits the profile, doesn't it?" said Bella. "It does and it doesn't. But that's the story for all the suspects," sighed Carrie. "Who's number 3? asked Bella. "Well, that's Lance Chase," said Carrie. "He is a jack of all trades and a master of many. As far as I can tell, he arrived in Alaska about 3 weeks ago and is an independent licensed contractor." "Why is he on the list?" asked Bella. Carrie responded, "His van matches your description in the dream." "Does he have any criminal charges?" asked Bella. "Yes," said Carrie. 3 assaults. He beat up a man, his girlfriend, and their friend for not paying the bill for his services. He spent a year in jail given how severely he beat all 3 of them." "Well, with a van and violence towards people, I see why you chose him," said Bella. "Who's number 4? asked Bella. "Well, that's Joey Falls. He's a professional outdoorsman, and he is here offering to make a zip line around Campbell Creek Park, all the way out to Cook Inlet. He is highly skilled at using rope and wire and wood and all the equipment needed for a zip line." Bella said, "Then he would have known where both of the bodies were found. Well, said Carrie, he got up here just before the first body. He knows the area. Any criminal record? Asked Bella. One of the people who co-owns the business was murdered, and he was a suspect because he has all the shares in the company. But there was not enough evidence to convict him. Who's number 5? Asked Bella. Oh, that would be Devin Sumner, said Carrie. He's a college graduate who recently purchased the local mortuary about 30 days ago. Bella looked at the picture of the mortuary. That looks like the one I saw in my dream. Legal history? Asked Bella. He was suspected of murdering his sister around his age, but his mom said he was with her, said Carrie. Bella asked, well, he owns the place where the body was cremated, and not only that, said Carrie, but his mom seemed to be reconsidering and called the police, but then she disappeared. What was she going to tell them? Asked Bella. I don't know, said Carrie, but it is quite suspicious. That's quite a list, said Bella. And Carrie shared, she's going to talk with each of them in person. Carrie asked Bella if she wanted to be part of questioning the suspects, and Bella shared, of course, but I can't leave the hospital. You don't need to, said Carrie. Just write 3 different questions for each suspect, and when I interview them, I will ask them. That way, you can help and not have any contact with any of the suspects. And be safe, Carrie said. I need to get on this right away, so you have a short time. Bella put pen to paper and wrote down her questions. Carrie looked at them and smiled. You ask really good questions. That night Bella went to sleep, and as she was looking at her friend Luna sitting in the dark, tied to a chair, blindfolded. Luna was crying and wanted to go home. Bella looked and there was a shadow. He was pacing back and forth. I should just kill her and get it over with. But then he heard another voice. She's just a child. She's done nothing wrong. The male voice said, I should have just sawed off her leg and sent that with the shoe to the police. Just send the shoe, said the other voice. The shadow turned in Bella's direction and asked, What do you think? Bella froze. The voices laughed. You really did not think we could see you? If you could have seen your face when that woman's head caught on fire and her face melted to the floor, that made killing her worth it. Bella said, Let her go and take me instead. One of the voices said, A life for a life. Okay. She's done nothing wrong, but you've been a pain in our side too long. Then the other voice agreed. The voice told Bella, when you wake up, you are to leave the hospital and go to the address by yourself. Bella said, I will go, I promise. Then we'll let her go, said the voice. Bella woke up shaking and waited for the nurses to make their rounds. She then unhooked the IV, leaving the port still in her arm, and got dressed. She felt dizzy and had to steady herself on the bed. She didn't know how long she was going to be able to sneak out of the hospital. Or how. There were nurses and even security guards, not to mention cameras. Bella barely opened the door and peeked out. She took a few steps and a nurse was coming around the corner, so she ducked into the next room. There was an older man. She tried not to wake him, but unfortunately the door creaked and his eyes popped open. He stared at Bella and she stared back. She said, Please don't say anything. I need your help. The man listened. It wasn't often he had visitors, and that was quite a story she told him. Bella asked him his name. It was Bill Jaspers. He was 84 and was recovering from major surgery. Bill said, Well, it would seem if you're going to sneak out of this hospital, you're going to need some help, and I can do that. What I want you to do, Bella, is after I hit my call button, you leave. Go into every other room and do the same. Hit the call button. It's late. Most of the patients will be asleep. I'll do my best to keep the nurses with me. All I have to do is say I'm having a pain in a certain part of my body. Bella thanked Bill, and she left his room and followed his instructions. She watched the nurses walk by and the doctors came in. She went to every other room and hit the call buttons and left. Soon staff was all in one part of the hospital, and Bella was headed in the other direction. She hid under the nursing station until the hallways were clear. Then she headed out the door. She then heard the sound of feet of the security guard, so she hid in the supply closet, watching him run by. She opened the door and made her way to the staircase, not daring to take the elevator. She saw the guard at the desk and snuck just in time into the bathroom before he saw her. Bella waited and watched. She was running out of time, and it would not be long until the nurse would find her bed empty. She then noticed a hospital orderly pushing a metal cart draped with a sheet, which she could tell by the lack of effort he was putting into it. It was empty. He stopped by the bathroom, and she moved the sheet and climbed into the bottom of the cart. He pushed the cart outside and was heading to pick up supplies from the ambulance to put in his cart. So Bella rolled off the cart onto the grass until she was behind some bushes. She thought she was going to pass out. She was so dizzy. Bella got up and scurried from car to car until she was out of the parking lot, and then hugged the hospital buildings until she found her way to the other side of the hospital, and eventually into the neighborhood. She followed the side roads until she got to Tudor Road and ran across, eventually into the woods. She would approach Campbell Creek Park from the opposite side of the bridge. She heard voices and hid just in time behind the trees as a few homeless men walked by. Bella didn't mind meeting the homeless during the day, but not all of them were safe, as the ones she volunteered with her church to help feed. Bella stepped out of the shadows and a hand grabbed her. An older homeless man who had been drinking pulled her toward him, saying, "Hey, little girl, what you doing here?" He spoke in a very scary voice. Fortunately for Bella, another man grabbed him and said, "Leave that child alone," and Bella recognized him as one she had helped. "It's not safe for anyone to be out here," said the man, who Bella knew as Tom. "I need to save a little girl," said Bella. "Well," said Tom, as the voices started to bother him, "just be careful," and he walked into the darkness. Bella cautiously approached the park, and there, like a few weeks ago, was the bridge she ran down, the playground equipment, and in the far corner a pile of leaves where she had found the shoe that it was attached to the leg where she saw the dead woman's face. As Bella approached the leaves, she saw a child's shoe. It was not sticking up as an angle. It was just lying on a pile of leaves. Bella picked up the shoe, and in it was a piece of paper with just a few words. "Lay down on the leaves and close your eyes and do not open them." Bella knew she could end up like the dead woman, but she had to save her friend, so she followed the instructions. The leaves did not hold her weight, and she sank under them, but she kept her face from being swallowed up by the leaves. She did not know how long she was laying there. She just waited and prayed. "Oh Lord, you protected Daniel. Protect me, Jesus, because I'm going into the lion's den." Bella heard her body rustle with the leaves as she moved. There was no other sound. She strained her ears to listen for anything, but the only thing she experienced was a cloth shoved in her mouth and that sickly sweet scent. Then she woke up, not being able to move or see. She felt the ropes that were tied around the chair and the weight of her blindfold across her eyes, tied to the back of her head. Bella said, "I kept my promise. Did you keep yours?" More silence. Then a childlike voice said, "Luna was dropped off at her mom's house. She's safe." Bella said, "Well, you have me. Have you decided what you're going to do with me?" A man carried Bella and the chair into a darkened room and removed her blindfold. All she could see were the shadows. In front of her was a combination box on the floor, and now ropes were tied to her feet that connected to the steel metal box that had a locking device that unlocked with a secret code. She also saw that the ropes around her that tied her to the chair were also connected to this box. "I told you we should just kill her," said the older sounding male voice. But the child voice said, "She's only 12. I remember when I was her age. Please don't hurt her. We have so many more women to kill." But not her. How many chances are we going to give her? It was one thing she stumbled across the first body, but she did it again, and now following us in her dreams? She's a risk we cannot afford to take anymore. What if she saw our face? She would identify us, and we would not get to kill anymore. They'd put us in prison to make it worse. It would be much worse than what our mom and our sister did to us. "I'll tell you what," said the childlike voice. "Let's make a game out of it. If she wins, she lives. If she doesn't, she dies." The shadows and the voices left the room, but could still hear Bella to communicate. "It's a deal," said the childhood voice, and the adult voice said, "Okay, it's a deal." The childlike voice said, "We have something to do, and you do not have much time. You need to figure out the cipher by the time we return." And then the adult voice said, "Or I will put you in a garbage bag, take you to the furnace, and I will listen to you scream and watch you burn until there's nothing left of you but ashes." The voices left, and Bella heard a vehicle driving off. She looked at the cipher on the wall. This one was short, but it had characters Bella had not seen before. She realized it was a code to open the metal box, which would result in her freedom. When Bella has the questions written out for Dr. Foreman and the cipher decoded, call Grandpa Wolf for the next chapter of this terrifying story. The cipher reads as follows: percentage, the @ sign, $sign, up caret, exclamation point, $sign, @ sign, percentage sign, dot. There are no plain text keys provided. Not sure what I'm going to name the next chapter of the story. As soon as Bella figures it out, I'll get back with you guys and we will continue moving on to chapter 5. God bless you guys.